what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another dose of your weekly rundown. Of course, joined in with me, as always, my brother from another, my co-host, all the way from the U, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
Good. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. I finally feel acclimated to my surroundings. I have everything I need. I'm getting my first haircut out here, so everybody wish me luck. You know what I'm saying? Coming from New York, that's very hard. But yeah, man, I'm doing very good. We got a lot to talk about, man. I got Stephen A. Smith on my TV right now previewing this Western Conference Game 2 finals. So we are definitely going to recap that Game 1, predict Game 2 tonight. But most importantly, we got the possible future stars of this league. Their fates being determined tonight, well, at least the top three anyway, with the NBA draft lottery coming up here pretty soon. So we got to talk about it, man. Oklahoma State point guard, he's the presumptive number one pick. I don't think anybody's going to argue that he's not going to be the guy. And I think the arguments definitely start after one. Not to say that this is one of those drafts where, like, it's like you're only going to get one like franchise guy in this draft. Like, I think you can get a couple. There's a couple guys that can be franchise guys in this draft, but we know who's going to go number one. So I have this hat on for a reason, because I've been saying on this show for a while, once James Harden was traded, that the Houston Rockets it's a guards league. You got some very good guards coming out in this draft, and the Houston Rockets need to go guard in this draft. You know, as long as they get that top 2, top 3 pick. So, like I said, obviously they get the number one pick. You're taking Cade Cunningham. But my biggest thing, and definitely, I mean, he was showing out all regular season for Gonzaga, but Jalen Suggs really put on a show, you know, in March Madness. Obviously, the championship game didn't go their way, but he showed me a lot when it was time to show out. So number one pick aside, I have been saying this and I'm consistently going to say it. If the Houston Rockets are on the board and Jalen Suggs is there for the taking, they need to take Jalen Suggs. Their head coach, Stephen Silas, has been, you know, riveted about when it comes to his work with guards. We've talked a little bit last week when we had Dante and Jay on about, you know, maybe him not being in Dallas anymore might have hurt Luka a little bit, but his resume when it comes to the guards he's worked with is top notch. So, and you know, you said something before we started recording too that was definitely true. The teams that lose their superstar usually get rewarded in the end. So what are your thoughts on this draft class? What are your thoughts on what I just said?
I can definitely see where you're coming from. I think I don't know who would be the number one pick right now. Obviously Jalen Suggs showed out in the tournament and different things like that. I can see why someone would probably take him, but I think Cade Cunningham has been kind of the number one pick right now that people think would be a number one pick, and he's also a guard. So you talk about how good Silas has been with guards. That's just another guard that you have over there with him. So obviously you just brought up what I said and how I think that the team who usually loses their superstars who gets the pick. So I think the Rockets obviously need another guard over there after losing James Harden. Kevin Porter Jr. has been pretty good for them, but it's going to be interesting to see kind of where it goes from here. There's some other talent, Jalen Green, those guys that was in the G League. I think they just didn't get enough camera time, I think, because the G League season, due to COVID, was only 1 month. And then some of their games were kind of like during the day and things. They didn't get enough time out there, so maybe one of those guys can jump up and be a little surprising. So it'd be interesting to see kind of how it goes from here and who ends up with the top pick, what they decide to do. But I think it's kind of open right now, so anyone can maybe sneak in there and maybe steal that number one draft spot.
I mean, like I said, I really think Cade Cunningham's the guy at number one, deservedly. So Jalen Green's definitely going to be, like, I don't want to call him a wild card, but that guy in this draft, like, he could be the guy that, like, a couple years from now, or even after his rookie year, people were saying, man, he should have went number one just because he didn't get that shine that a lot of these other guys got during the college season. And I mean, he's also noted that as well in a couple interviews that he's had. Evan Mobley is another guy that, you know, they have a lot of these big boards have him going number 2 in mock drafts. I'm not going to repeat what I said, but you know, it's not taking away anything from Evan Mobley. It's just how I feel about the Houston Rockets, and also how the Houston Rockets are built. You know, when you got Christian Woods over there at the center, power forward center position, and it also imagine that backcourt with either Cade Cunningham or Jalen Suggs, and you're pairing them up with Kevin Porter Jr. because Kevin Porter Jr. is going to be something special, man. I was shocked that he had got drafted as low as he did a couple years ago. And, you know, I didn't like the fact that he went to Cleveland because, you know, no disrespect, it's Cleveland. But, you know, luck of fate, or, you know, I guess not so much luck of fate with his actions got him out of there. And Houston definitely lucked out getting him. So when I think of this draft and the pieces that the Houston Rockets currently have, am I wrong in saying that I don't think they're that far off from competing for a playoff spot in the next year or two?
I'm not sure because obviously losing James Harden, they lost PJ Tucker, they lost Westbrook, they lost a lot of pieces over there. So Kevin Porter's a nice young piece for them to have, and I think he at 50 and things like that. But I think even getting the number 1 pick over there, they still might need a little more talent over there, especially when you think about the Western Conference. It's tough, and it's only going to really get tougher. The Grizzlies are only going to get better. Klay Thompson should be back, so the Warriors are only going to get better and different things like that. So I think it'd be tough for them right now, but I think maybe, to your point, they're not as far off as some people think they are, but they still need maybe some more talent over there before.
Definitely do. And you know, the rumors are also out there that they're gonna look to get some compensation back. John Wall being on the trading block pretty soon. I know that's not big news right now, but expect to hear that, you know, fairly soon. And you know, a couple other more established guys over there as well. But yeah, I mean, you want to dive a little more into this with other teams and their possible needs and the guys that are on this list.
Sure. I mean, we could do it now, or we could do it next week after the lottery. The lottery's kind of out, and we know who's what and who's going where, and we can maybe predict more. Because right now, it's really kind of maybe evaluating the top talent, and then because we don't know who's going to go where. Because right now, the Houston could fall to number 5, and that changes a lot for them.
Yeah. And look, well, let's run through this real quick because the top 3 has the same odds to get the top 3 picks in the draft. And of course, I'm going to take a shot at the New York Knicks because the Knicks fans hated this the first year they did it. But to be honest with you, it was the right thing to do because it eliminated tanking. So you got the Houston Rockets with the top odds, 14%. The Detroit Pistons with the second best odds, 14%. The Orlando Magic with the third best odds, 14%. And then it drops down a little bit. Oklahoma City Thunder with the 4th best odds, but you know they got King's Ransom over there. So if they want to do something to possibly move up, they can do that. That's 11.5%. Cavaliers, who are going to be here forever, another 11.5%. The Golden State Warriors via Minnesota, 9%. The Raptors, who just won a title a couple years ago, 7.5%. Then the Orlando Magic have another lottery pick here via Chicago, and that's when it really dips to 4.5%. The Kings, another disappointing team, 4.5%. Pelicans, 4.5%. Charlotte, 1.8%. San Antonio on the 12th with the 12th best odds, 1.7%. The Pacers, 1%. And then the Warriors again with 0.5%. If you can make any predictions, where do you think this thing is going? Who do you think gets rewarded for having the worst season?
I think the Thunder get rewarded. They're not getting rewarded for having the worst season. I think they're getting rewarded for having maybe some of the best odds. I think if that Minnesota pick ends up maybe not being top 3 or something, it goes to Oklahoma City. So they might end up with 2 top picks here. So I think those odds may help them out a little bit for them to jump maybe up to 1, or if not, maybe 2 or 3. So I think the Thunder, just with all the trades and stuff that they've done, and it just increasing their draft odds. I think that'll help them a little bit tonight.
Imagine Cade Cunningham ending up with the Thunder. He don't even got to leave the state.
That that obviously be great for him, and you put him next to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, so that'll be a backcourt for the future that they'll have for a while.
Scary backcourt. Very, very scary backcourt.
And very big, because I think both of them are probably around like 6'5" or higher, so that'd be a very tall backcourt going for the future. So in a couple of years, they'll probably terrorize the league, so that'd be great for the Thunder if that can happen. And obviously, he likes the state already, so you got to worry about him not liking the state too much.
Yeah, most def, man. And, I was just having a conversation about with some people about Sam Presti. Again, still think Sam Presti's overdue on a exec of the year with the things he's been able to do, dating back to the Durant, Harden, Westbrook days. So I left off saying I trust the guy that once drafted 3 future MVPs back to back. So the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be in a very good place, and they need to do everything possible to keep Sam Presti happy over there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously he had some mistakes too, but all in all, I think he's been a great general manager. Especially even if you just look at the past and you look now, what he is able to turn all that stuff into, all this draft capital, it's just great for him now. So definitely.
Well, we're looking at the top 14 prospects here. NCAA champion Davion Mitchell comes in at 7. I'm a little surprised that his backcourt partner isn't on this list as well. Can you kind of talk to me about that a little bit?
I don't think he was kind of expected to kind of go that high from the beginning. I think maybe when he gets into workouts and different things like that, and people see maybe how good of a player he is, he may rise a little bit. But I think he wasn't that high on there before. Obviously, I think the tournament run helped him and should help him. But I think he probably still has a little more work to do before he kind of maybe gets up a little higher.
Most def. I like it, man. I like it. Anything else here that we need to get on before we kind of move on? I see Meech in the building. I'm not ready for that conversation though.
I think that's it for now, draft wise. Like I said, by next week, we'll I guess in a couple of hours, couple of minutes, we'll know what the order is, and we can get into that a little more.
Right. Well, let's get into it because I don't want to end the show on this note. The Philadelphia 76ers lost in 7 games to the Atlanta Hawks. So there's a bunch of different ways to go with this. We can talk about how Ben Simmons was atrocious down the stretch in the last couple games here, to the point where he wasn't even playable at the end of games. There was one play in Game 7 where he didn't even try to put the ball up when he had an open layup. Pass it to Matisse Thybulle. They fouled Matisse Thybulle, and we know what that was. He was scared to get fouled because he didn't want to go to the free throw line. Now, is it Ben Simmons' fault, or is it Doc Rivers and the history that we know with Doc Rivers? First off, let me start off by giving Doc Rivers his shine, because we only gonna speak facts here, correct? Doc Rivers is a first ballot Hall of Famer as a coach. First ballot. His teams have had success in the regular season. They've had a little bit of playoff success, not to the extent that his fan base would want them to have, but they've had success. Now, with that being said, and he's a champion. He's been to the finals 3 times.
2 times. I think twice with the Celtics. He hasn't been back since.
Yeah. So he's been to the NBA Finals 2 times. That was 2008 when they won their first title, and then again in 2010 when they lost to the Los Angeles Lakers and the late great Kobe Bryant. Now, with all of that being said, Doc Rivers has a history in his coaching career of blowing leads.
And not winning Game 7s.
Yeah, that's fair. He's won some Game 7s in his career.
I think a stat just came out that He's lost like his last 7 game 7s or something like that.
Okay. Well, oh look, they got Davion Mitchell on the TV right now. Uh, so
Also,
anyway,
Hodge said in the comments that Jared Butler's health is something wrong with his health, so that's probably why he's dropping.
I did see that. I did see that. He's not going to participate in any of the combine stuff, but he will still do like the interviews and things like that.
Shout out to Hodge for that information.
There's been about, I believe, 8 3-1 leads blown in NBA history. Now, anybody, please correct me if I'm wrong. Doc Rivers has been a part of 5 of those, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Meech probably knows.
So we go to that, and then we go to this, because the last couple games, they were up. I believe game 5, they were up like 18. No. Game 4, they were up 18. Game 6, they were up 26. And these are all like for the majority of the games, by the way, that they just it didn't look like Atlanta had any life. And I hit you up a couple of times too, like I can't believe this. And all leads are blown. And game 7, great game as usual, as game 7s go. But the Philadelphia 76ers on their home court couldn't close the deal. They had never lost playoff games like this on their home court. They have something like, I don't even know the number, 200 something wins, no losses. Now you got a 1 in that loss column. I guess to have the conversation here, even though Doc has a history in his coaching career of blowing these leads, when we look at this series specifically, is it his fault or is it players' fault? Like the fact that in one game in this series, the only 2 players on the team to score a field goal were Seth Curry and Joel Embiid, or Ben Simmons just with atrocious play down the stretch of this series?
I guess it had to be a little bit of both. Obviously, your coach is supposed to put your team in the best position to score or do whatever you guys are supposed to do, have the game plan. If you're a coach and you coach a whole half of basketball and you only get 2 people to score, I think some of the blame has to be on you. Now, obviously, if Ben Simmons doesn't have the confidence to shoot the ball and he's not going to shoot the ball and pass the ball, that's nothing on you. But there's still Tobias Harris. There's no reason why Tobias Harris shouldn't have a play ran for him or something ran for him where he can get something, whether it's a free throw or something. Well, I guess they did make free throws, but it's only field goals. Tobias Harris should be able to score a field goal. There should be some type of play that you have ran for him that you've been running for him all season. Now, obviously, Doc can't shoot the ball for him. But I think he does deserve a little bit of the blame because, like I said, you have to be able to get someone else a shot besides those 2 guys. And then obviously the players, whether it's not wanting to shooting the ball or just missed shots and not showing up. Tobias Harris, we all talked about how much of a great year he's been having. There's no way you can kind of go out there. And even if the coach is not calling your name, sometimes you got to just go grab the ball and go make something happen. So I think it's a little bit of blame on both kind of player and coach. The Doc deserves a little bit for maybe not having his team prepared and not putting them in the best position. And the players deserve a little bit for kind of folding in the moment. Obviously, you can go on for days, and people have been going on for days about how Ben Simmons ain't show up. But freaking, like I said, Tobias Harris, there's other players there who should be able to maybe go score or have something ran from him or make a shot. And Tobias Harris I bring up the most because he's the only other player on the team that can really go get his own shot.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had my issues with Tobias. That's another thing I've like consistently said on the show up until this year was he wasn't playing to what he was getting paid to do. Like he was not living up to that contract at all. And this year was definitely a little bit of a different story. But the playoffs is where you make your money, as Julius Randle in a couple months. And he went back to not living up to that contract. But I mean, You want to give the floor? You want to give the floor to the listeners?
Meech has a lot to say. Are we gonna let him call up? Do you have it set up?
No, I don't have it set up. I have my I have my system in here.
Unless you gotta plug your phone in.
Oh, he's gonna call my phone number.
Yeah, I don't have a mixer.
What is he? He's got my phone number.
I'm gonna
Oh
send it
yeah,
to you.
it's him right now. This is him calling right now.
It might be.
448.
Yeah.
Meech, what's going on? Oh, I can't hear him.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You haven't plugged into your computer?
Hold on. Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize.
Anyways, let me know when you get that working. In the meantime, I think, like I said, the blame can go on multiple people. I think some of it has to go on Doc too, for the fact that this is not his first case of doing that. He's blown, like I said, there's a stat that came out that said he'd blown like his last 7 game 7s or something along those lines. So, and then also a lot of people have brought this up too about the fact that he doesn't look as good because the Clippers, the team that he had last year, just made it to the conference finals. And then again, he blows another lead, and they were up big in those 2 games in game 4 or 5. So the series really should have been over in 5. They blow those 2 big leads, and then the team that he just left, and maybe people thought he went to a better situation and different things like that, they end up getting to the conference finals, which he blew last year. So I think all in all, Doc doesn't look great this week either. But a lot of the blame has been put on Ben Simmons for the fact that he wouldn't shoot the ball and different things like that. And I think that's an issue too, and I think it's time to kind of blow those guys up, like Ben Simmons and things like that. But Doc, it's just, I think there's enough blame right now to go around. But also the Hawks deserve a lot of credit for what they were able to do. Trae Young wasn't playing great in that game 7. They was able to win that down the stretch. They were playing without Bogdanovich. He hurt his ankle. So the Hawks deserve a lot of credit too. So, but there's a lot of blame to go around in Philly. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do moving on from here.
My bad, man. I'm not here. I got issues like crazy right now.
All right. Well, Meech, we tried to get you up here.
Say something again.
Me?
Nah, I got nothing. Oh yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
I can hear you. Can you guys hear him?
I can hear him. It's pretty low, but I'm not sure if.
Okay, I can hear you. I don't know. I can barely hear Kayson now. Kay, can you hear him? You can hear him? All right, so we'll just do it like this for now. As long as Meech talks, I'll keep this setting the way it is. Well, go ahead, man. The floor is yours.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you for letting me on the show, Rich. Kay, I want to say thank you. Shout out to y'all. Love the show. We'll keep it brief. Not gonna do too much slandering tonight. You know, it's a good night. The draft coming on, the game coming on. Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is to blame. I want to say thank you to Doc Rivers because everything I've been saying about last year and the Clippers' performance came true with this Philly, how Philly performed and how they folded. I just want to pull up some alarming stats. So the 2020 exit, Game 5, the Clippers blew a 16-point lead. Game 6, they blew a 19-point lead. Game 7, they blew a 12-point lead. Now this year, Game 4, 18-point lead blew. Game 5, a 26-point lead blew at home. This series should never even went to 7 games.
Nope.
And I believe this is all in adjustments. Doc Rivers, he doesn't make adjustments at all. He will watch the team go under fire and will not put any water out until it's too late. That's all I have to say. Even when you're looking at the Clippers and Ty Lue, even though he makes the adjustments late, he still makes adjustments. Doc Rivers, we knew Ben Simmons. He's not shooting. This has been 3 years since he came in the league. He knew how Ben Simmons performs. Doc Rivers had a whole year to work with Ben Simmons about this. Doc Rivers is not putting his players in the best spots they need to be for them to excel. And Ben Simmons, I've seen a lot of Paul George in him when he lacked confidence. What is Doc Rivers doing to put that confidence back in Ben Simmons? So that's all I gotta say. Thank y'all. We'll see next year with Doc Rivers.
Well, before you go, just elaborate on the on what you see when it comes to not making those in-game adjustments.
Well, if I could say one point for him,
as far as player rotations, he doesn't rotate. He doesn't make the right rotation adjustments within the game. I was really watching the Clippers more so than Philly this year because I wasn't really too interested in the series because I already knew how it was going to come down. I'm going to be honest with you. With the Clippers, I can speak a lot about the Clippers series last year. I'm not a Clippers fan, but Paul George is my favorite player. And seeing my favorite player in the Clippers and being robbed from the Lakers, Clippers, Western Conference Finals pissed me off. So even with the Clippers last year, when you see Paul George is not shooting the best way he can, you're still running pin down for him. It's not going to work. When Harrell is getting cooked by Jokic, but you're not putting Zubac in on top of Jokic, the guard Jokic, it's not going to work. That's why the Clippers lost. You're playing your best players for a certain amount of stretch, then you see the teams actually come back in when you take those players out. You're not making the proper adjustments. Like, I think it was Game 5 when they were down 26, and B was going for a long stretch of that comeback. Instead of calling timeout and putting B back, put him back in on the floor to kind of weather the storm, he waits till it's on fire. A lot of the games shouldn't have been close at all. I don't think that series should have went to 7. Philly should have got out of there at 6 or 5. But I knew the Hawks were going to win just because of Doc Rivers. How you feel about that, Rick?
I mean, I don't really disagree with some of the things you're saying. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, and you definitely know your stuff. When these conversations were first going down, because we've been talking about this. I want to say since last summer in the bubble, right?
A whole year.
They were coming off a little trollish. That's why I'm like, oh man, here we go again. But nah, you're putting up great points, and I'm not even gonna lie. Like for myself, I've even started to come around on that. I've had arguments with some people that I'm cool with, where I've said this, and they've kind of been on like the opposite side, just bringing up his past accomplishments. But in this world, in whatever you do, it's a world where it's what have you done for me lately, not what have you done in the past. And he just hasn't done nothing lately. And I'm on the side of K in that he's not completely to blame, but there's some blame to go around there for him.
But we also got to take into consideration who's on that Celtics team and that coaching staff. Remember I brought up Tom Thibodeau. Then you have Rondo, a full general. You have Ray Allen. You have Paul Pierce, KG. That team was, even Doc Rivers could have messed that up. I'm going to be honest with you. That team was phenomenal. Now, what have you done after that? You underperformed and underachieved with every team you had after that. You could start with the Clippers, the Lob City Clippers. They choked, underperformed. But from there, you have Kawhi, Paul George. That could have been one of the greatest matchups we ever seen with the Lakers versus Clippers. That was the most anticipated. That was almost as anticipated in my lifetime. That felt like when LeBron was supposed to meet up with Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be Kawhi versus LeBron, Battle of Los Angeles. And he messed it up. He folded it. Even though Paul George didn't have the best performances because he was hurt. Clearly was hurt with his shoulder. Doc Rivers, you still blew those 3 leads. You were up 3 games by double digits, and you blew those leads because the rotations. And why are you? Remember that series he was double teaming Jokic. Like, why were you double teaming Jokic and Jamal Murray is giving you guys 35? Like that. Some of his stuff is just very questionable, and it's showing that he can't coach. He gets out coached every series I see. That's all I gotta say.
All right, man. Good points. Good points to my man Meech.
All right, yeah, have a good night.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on. I mean, to some of his points, a lot of people have been complaining about how if you looking at the end of that game 7, Herter was going off and you leave Seth Curry on him. He was just too tall for Seth Curry, and he's just shooting over him. So, I mean, Danny Green was out, but you make the proper adjustments. You still have Thibault, who's a great defender out there. That you got to make a.
Well, I was gonna say Thibault's one of the best. Here's my thing with Doc too. He's got low key. He's got like all elite defenders on that team. Like Thibault's been one of the more consistent top defenders in the league. We all argued Ben Simmons should have won Defensive Player of the Year this year. You know, those are two guys right there that you couldn't. There were people talking about how Ben needed to pick up Trey more. Like, these are two guys. There's mismatches for them. There's, just a lot for them to do that wasn't getting called out there.
Yeah, definitely. And those are two guys that we just named right there. Only one of them needs to guard Trey Young. So the other one definitely should have been on Herter in that game 7 when Herter was going off. Steph Curry was obviously doing the best job he can, but he was just a little undersized, and Herter was feeling it. So you have to make the proper adjustments because honestly, I mean, Terrence Mann was able to go off in the game 6, but there's no way that Kevin Herter should be the one who kills you and sends you home in the game 7 at home.
Yeah, man. I really don't have much to add to that series. It was very disappointing for me as somebody. It was like the Battle of LA last year, something I really wanted that we didn't get to see. This year, I really wanted Philly versus Brooklyn. I don't get to see it. Both teams end up going down. Ooh, Brooklyn. Glad I got the man of the hour on to talk about that one, though. So, we didn't get into it, but that night last week, I believe it was that night after we finished recording the show, Kevin Durant puts up a historic performance where we're giving him high praise, deservedly so. Here was my thing, though. I wanted to see him do it again. A lot of these players in the leagues, they give you one game, but I want to see you be able to take your team over the height. And don't get me wrong, man. They literally played with half of their big three because Kyrie was out. You had Durant, and you had like half of Harden because he was a shell of himself once he came back, even though he was playing a ton of minutes. And then you got your role players who are just not showing up either. Joe Harris, whose jump shot just completely disappeared. Joe Harris, I got news for you, man. I hope you enjoyed your time in New York City because it's you are gone. You are out of there. No disrespect. And on top of that, maybe it's good for you. It's high taxes in New York, man. That's one of the reasons why I left.
I mean, like you said, they only had 1.5 maybe of the big three because James Harden actually came out and said he's playing on a grade 3 hamstring and different things like that. But KD did do it again. I mean, honestly, I'm going to call out some more coaching here. I think Steve Nash maybe needs to be called out a little bit for some of the things that he did. Obviously, down the stretch, the offense was give the ball to KD and let him take on the Bucks. That's kind of all I've seen out there. Drew Holiday started going off towards the end of the game. Chris Middleton, Giannis was going off. And then if you look at the Nets, it was just give KD the ball and everyone kind of just space out. He ISO'd for like the whole fourth quarter and then overtime too. And then that kind of explains why he was tired. And then on that last play, obviously, KD is way taller than Drew Holiday, but Drew Holiday's played some great defense, especially on guys above him. KD's tired, and KD gets the ball with 8 seconds, and Drew Holiday's there. And I'm screaming, call a timeout. They had timeouts. I would call a timeout. So I think that he deserves a little bit of the blame, too. KD did all he could. I'm not really going to knock him too much. I told you before that if he ended up losing this series, that I wasn't going to knock him too much. And the way he went out, Chris Broussard has said something when the Bucks were down, like Giannis could lose the series, but he has to go out fighting. He has to go out swinging. And KD definitely went out swinging. And I've seen some people say that this run kind of helped him more than any one of those Warriors runs and things like that. And they're maybe a couple inches away from winning that game by 1 point in regulation. So I think KD did all he could. Harden, I would give Harden a quick shout out too, because he really wasn't even supposed to be out there. He really just went out there to make sure his brother wasn't out there alone and try to maybe will him to a victory. So that's kind of maybe what I see in there. And then me and you have to get into this topic because we were conversating, having this debate about which shot was bigger. Was it Giannis's shot to tie the game or Chris Middleton's shot to win the game? And I was telling you that Giannis's shot to tie the game was more important for the fact that they had not really scored in overtime yet. I don't think they scored at all in overtime yet. His shot really took the lid off the basket for him and made Chris Middleton's shot a lot easier because Chris Middleton is going with less pressure. If he misses it, at worst you go into another overtime. Giannis's shot, if you miss it, you're already down. You maybe end up down 4 with not a lot of time yet left. And they wasn't really scoring. So Giannis' shot really opened the lid and made it a lot easier for Chris Middleton's shot. Now, maybe Chris Middleton's shot, because he won the game, is a little bigger. But Giannis' shot was more important.
All right. So first and foremost, I want to get in before we get into that debate, because we got to get into that one. I want to finish off dissecting that game 7 with as far as how much KD did. KD he put up great numbers, had a good performance. And I mean, he hit some crazy, like the shot that pretty much sent it into OT. If his foot wasn't so big, they would have won the game. I'm not even trying to be funny. That's literally what happened. And those are all-time great shots right there. But let's go into overtime. These guys were all very fatigued. The one thing I was saying at the end of that overtime when he airballed that last shot, the lane was open for him to take. I'm always a guy who wants to go a little on the safer side in moments like these. I felt he should have drove up the lane, attack the basket, get the 2, and then keep the game going. You know, you go into a second OT. He didn't want to do that. And I mean, is Jay in here?
Jayla? I don't think so.
Oh man, I wish he was. You don't see that from other guys. These other guys that we talk about, all-time greats, the best players in the league. And it's funny, we just got done talking about Doc and blowing leads. When these guys have leads, because remember, and granted they dealt with injuries, but nonetheless, the Brooklyn Nets were up 2-0 in this series. They blew a 2-0 lead. I don't care what the numbers were in game 7. I'm looking at what happened at the end of the game. Could he come through to win the game for them? He couldn't do that. Kevin Durant's another one of the greatest scorers the game's ever seen. I honestly, this might hurt some feelings. I think he's a better player than Larry Bird, better scorer than Larry Bird. But I'm not ready to put him over someone like LeBron when you can't close out things like that. Now, to get to your point about which shot was bigger, yes, Giannis tied the game. But in the moment, Giannis hit that, and it wasn't a jumper either. That was he was very close to the basket when he sunk that. When Giannis hit that shot to tie the game, I don't think anybody had scored, correct? And at that point, they were just playing, like that game that shot just kept them alive. I don't think that there's not to say that there's not pressure in that shot, but I don't think there's more pressure in that shot than Middleton hitting the shot later in the game. He hit that shot with like a little over a minute left to put them up. And the way that those guys were playing, you knew guys were fatigued. You knew things could be in your favor, even with Kevin Durant on the floor if you were up in that moment. So for me personally, with all that being said, I just think Chris Middleton, his shot was a bit bigger than Giannis Antetokounmpo's. Man, I got to go pull some stuff up because my point when we talked about whose shot was bigger was all I said was Giannis didn't win them that game.
Giannis won him the game. Giannis had 42. Giannis won him the game.
But look at I don't know if I sent this to you on Instagram or if I sent this to you on Twitter.
And also to your I don't know what more you can ask for KD. I don't. Like I said, I felt like the Bucks are probably going to end up winning that series anyway. He got them maybe a lot closer to winning it, and maybe they should have won it. But like, you could tell by that last shot that he was exhausted. He played basically every minute of the last 3 games. His team really didn't do nothing for him. It was just give him the ball and get out the way. No one else was scoring. There was no type of other offense going on. If you want to knock him a little bit for it, I don't see how. I think everyone else kind of sees it like you did all you could, and sometimes that's all you can do. Your second best player has a hamstring injury. Your third best player's out.
I'm a person of who likes to be fair. We one guy that got killed for being in the same exact situation against a better team. We killed him for not being able to win because of the stature that he's under. But somebody else who, again, same situation, we're not gonna kill him.
But you can't argue with scoring the most points ever in a game 7. So if KD went out, maybe.
But LeBron's had the same historic feats in games that he's lost. We don't talk about that. We talk about you lost.
KD gets a pass for losing to those Warriors teams. Like, obviously,
wait, he gets a pass.
LeBron gets a pass for losing to those Warriors teams. Everyone says that team is unbeatable. No one knocks him.
We still saying 3-6.
Yes, because he is 3-6. But like people,
we knew he was gonna lose. He had no chance of winning that team. So why are we talking about 3-6 instead of he gave it his all?
But he went
historic stuff. He just was no match for them because it was one man against one of the greatest teams ever at the end of the day, and he did that more than once. He actually almost beat them that first year.
And people people give him a pass for those Warriors losses. People go,
I disagree.
Yeah. I mean, he's still 3-6 because he lost in the finals. Like that is just a fact that can't be passed up. But like, people don't knock him for that finals loss, nor that first loss against the Spurs.
No, I don't think people kill him for the loss against the Spurs. I think every loss the 2 losses that honestly he shouldn't get. No, the losses that he should get killed for are Dallas, because that was just an all-time choke job. And then low key, the third time he played the Spurs, low key though, very low key.
Because they got blown off the floor, like they got blown off the floor.
Like if you remember in those series too, like that was the series where like they carried him off the court because he was cramping. Like
some people knock him for that Warriors 2015 one because they were up.
How are you gonna knock him for that?
You saw what I said to Jayla in the chat. They were up 2-1 with a game in Cleveland. I'm on my Skip Bayless stuff. They are up 2-1 in Bron's house.
Situation as KD right now with the Bucks, literally the same thing.
Absolutely.
Actually, you're right. It's not literally the same thing because they still should have had no shot in that series, and he was still able to will them up 2-1.
I think they had a shot in this. It's the same thing I was arguing with Jayla about earlier. That Warriors team was like
Matthew Dellavedova.
It's because we're looking back at it. Steph wasn't even playing good in that finals until really game 4. They put Iggy on him, and that changed the whole series. To be honest, so like Steph wasn't really playing that well. When you look back on it now, like I was telling Jayla, like it's easy because what the Warriors turned into. But at the time, the Warriors wasn't the Warriors like they are now.
Okay. I mean, if he had Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, they would have beat the Warriors in 2015. I'm very firm in that. You're not going to convince me otherwise. I know you gotta leave. So, real brief. Let's recap the game 1 of Clippers Suns and then give predictions for tonight.
All right.
You want to start it off? You want me to start it off?
Sure, I can start it off. Obviously, Devin Booker played out of his mind in that game 1. Devin Booker went for a triple-double. I think it was his first career triple-double. The Clippers were also coming off maybe like 36 hours of rest. They just came off a crazy game 6 against the Jazz. And then they had to turn right around and go right to Phoenix. I think Phoenix was well rested, even though they didn't have CP. They were well rested, and obviously you can see Cameron Payne has been a solid backup for them all playoffs long. I think he brings something maybe a little different that CP brings. He's a little younger and things like that. So I think they'll be able to, and the crowd, the Phoenix's crowd has been going crazy. So with Devin Booker kind of playing out of his mind like that, and the Clippers still kept it pretty close. I think the Suns only ended up winning by like 2 or 3 points. So all in all, PG I think only had like 1 point down the stretch, and maybe he's tired from carrying them those last 2 games. And you know what? I gotta get into something with PG a little bit, even though PG is my guy.
Oh,
when Kawhi went down, PG came out and made the comments that he's back into the indie mindset because now he's the best player on the team. My guy, that is not a statement that you make right now, because that's the type of mindset you should have had even when you were the second best player on the team. If you still had that mindset, then maybe y'all wouldn't have blown that lead last year. Maybe y'all would have made it to the finals, and maybe y'all wouldn't have been down right now. So obviously, being the second best player on your team puts him in a different mindset where I don't know what he starts to do, but I don't think that was what he should have said at the moment. Like, obviously, I get what he was trying to get at, but like, bro, you're supposed to be in that mindset all the time, no matter what. Like, you're supposed to be in that indie mindset attacking, and if you were doing that, then maybe I wouldn't be in some of the situations y'all were in.
yeah. So a couple things. You touched on Phoenix's fan base. I don't know how any of those guys haven't caught assault charges yet. I mean, it's funny to watch, but I've seen 2 videos now. Well, you got the one Phoenix fan that's went viral, but then I've seen another video after game 1 of the Clippers series where a couple Phoenix fans were putting in work after that game 1 on some Clippers fans. And I don't know what well, I get why the Phoenix fan did that to the Denver fan, but I don't know what those Clippers fans did to deserve that the other night. Another thing, y'all gonna start giving Ty Lue his respect, man. You guys are gonna start giving Ty Lue his respect, man. You got a drought, he's your guy. 50 years in Cleveland, no championship, he wins one. Never been to a conference finals for the Clippers. They in the conference finals now. Meech just got done talking about he does make adjustments even if you know they're a little later than you would like. Ty Lue's a good coach, man, and anybody that's been around Ty Lue will tell you that. You know, am I saying he's the greatest coach of all time? No, but Ty Lue has been around some great coaching minds. He knows what he's talking about, man, and that's why he's in the position that he's in now. I mean, kudos to you for making the comments you did about pandemic, because I never thought you would do that. But you had to know that this guy was coming back sooner or later.
Well, that Indiana Paul George is coming back?
No. The guy that only scored about 1 point down the stretch.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm not going to knock him too much for it. Like I said, he really had to carry them those 2 games to get to beat Utah. And then you're coming off like 36 hours of rest, and they had to fly to Phoenix. They had to get to Phoenix, and Phoenix was well rested. He was playing really well in that game before the fourth quarter had came, and his legs probably kind of just ran out on him. That's why I expect them to put up a little better fight tonight.
Well, before we get out, shout out to Cameron Payne, backup dancer for Russell Westbrook, is now one of the top depth guys in the league for sure. That's the adjustments, man. Cameron Payne was in the G League at one point, you know, because that Cameron Payne was. I mean, you knew him well because you were an Oklahoma City fan, but Cameron Payne was not getting no run in Oklahoma City like that. You know, we only knew Cameron Payne for dancing before games. So shout out to what?
He got a little bit of run. He was playing during that season. When he was dancing, he got some playing time.
Once the game was secure, Cam go ahead get some.
He got some. He was the backup point guard. But when you're backing up Westbrook, you're not getting too much minutes. But he was the backup point guard.
Reggie Jackson was getting minutes.
They were playing a lot together, and also like
Schroeder was getting minutes.
All right, whatever. But also, it was like his rookie year too. Like those guys came in. Like Reggie sat on the bench for a couple years. Reggie didn't play his first couple years because a lot of people don't know Reggie was there when we made it to the finals in 2012. He just wasn't playing.
Well, and my point stands. Shout out to Cameron Payne for putting in the work. I mean, for this series, man, Devin Booker just went off. Devin Booker it's what we've been saying. He's a great player. He's one of the top players in this league. We just weren't talking about him because he wasn't getting to the playoffs. He was on a really bad franchise. And now, I said it last week, I'll say it again. Shout out to James Jones. He's one of the best executives in the league. Putting together a well-oiled machine to support him and put him in a position to win now. And he goes out and does what he does in that game one. I think he's going to continue to shine. I'm actually, unless Kawhi comes back, and I believe Chris Paul's playing tonight, the Phoenix Suns are going to the NBA Finals, man. Devin Booker's going to keep doing what he's doing. Chris Paul's hearing the disrespect about where them pull the point guards. He's going to continue to do what he's doing. And they should win this series, man. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I said on the live before we came on here when I was on Instagram Live talking to people. I got the Suns in 6. I think the Clippers will be able to win 2 at home, but I think the Suns will just end up being too much. And also, like, Chris Paul will be back, and I said that this on the live too, that we don't know if he's going to be like 100% and maybe until like around the finals, because he's going to come back now, I mean, in the next couple of games, but he's coming back from COVID, and we talked about it on here a lot. People that come back from COVID usually need some time to get themselves together. Jason Tatum talked about how he was dealing with breathing issues and things like that. So the Suns, I think, will probably have enough with the Clippers not having Kawhi to get out of this series, maybe without CP. But I think they might run into some issues if CP can't be 100% healthy by the time they get to the finals and probably match up with the Bucks. Because I'm going to take the Bucks in about 5 games against the Hawks, because I think Drew Holiday would be a big difference for them. Drew Holiday is going to be a defender that Trae Young hasn't really had to go up against yet in the playoffs. I don't think the Bucks will have to send too much help. There should be a lot of one-on-one with just Trae versus Drew, and I think Drew would do a great job. Obviously, you're not going to stop none of these guys, but you're going to make it real tough for him, try and wear him down. And you can stay home with all the shooters, and the other guys are probably not going off as much. And if they do, you have P.J. Tucker, which I was saying on the live. All that stuff Kevin Huerter was doing to Stephen Curry, P.J. Tucker's knocking him right off his spots. So anyone else that tries to go off, you got P.J. Tucker for him.
For sure, man. So Milwaukee versus Phoenix. That's how I got it. Shout out to Jay, man. Jay did say that.
And shout out to Tim, because Tim's on here talking about how I made the wrong prediction on his podcast. That is 100% true, Tim. I made the wrong prediction. But shout out to my guy Mike, because I made the right conference final prediction on his show on the radio. I picked that Phoenix would go against the Clippers. So shout out to me for being right and wrong at the same time.
When I'm right, I'm right. And when I'm wrong, I could have been right. Therefore, I'm still right because I could have been wrong.
Exactly.
I was half right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out Meech. Shout out everybody that supports and all that. And we will see you guys next time. Catch that draft lottery and enjoy the game.
Definitely. Like I said, the Rockets are a team that just lost their superstar, is getting the number 1 pick. It could be the Thunder because they may be due for getting the number 1 pick because they lost 2 of their superstars. Shout out to Meech. Shout out to Hodge for being in the comments. Shout out to everyone that was here. Facts. We'll see y'all later.
Peace.